Seems that everything has Terminator X in it now. This Corvette's got Terminator X in it. This Mustang's got Terminator X in it. This Mustang's got Terminator X in it. And this Camaro's got Terminator X in it. I'm at the point now where I just keep coming in the morning and cars are being dropped off and they're here kind of unexpectedly. So I've gotten a little backed up. I spent most of the day on this yesterday trying to get it straight. This morning I'm just going to check out some shift points. Got a 4L80 in it. Probably going to do this Mustang next. This one we got kind of a deadline on, and this one will be after it. The install on this car is actually pretty nice. Looks like whoever did it actually took their time and cared a little bit, so that's always nice. I'm just going to make sure that this thing cold starts good, let it warm up a little bit, and then we'll run it through the gears. With the Holley especially, each car seems to be significantly different in terms of where you activate the shift and then when and where the shift actually happened. So being able to run the cars through the gears on the dyno is a big help, and kind of make sure that we stay off the rev limiter. Let's see if it'll start. It's pretty close. It needs a little after start enrichment or temperature based enrichment during warm up. Kind of playing with both of them at the same time. I really can't put into words how much I love this dyno. It truly is the best thing I've ever bought in my whole life. Not too bad for a little bolt-on LS3. Ignore the RPM and the torque. That's just a result of doing the gear change stuff, and the calculations are were calculated in high gear. And obviously we have some different torque multiplication throughout all the different gears. I gotta look at this log and see if I want to make any more changes to the shifting, and then I think this one's about ready to go. After a couple revisions, got this one. I'm pretty happy with it. Main things I'm looking at on this one are the closed loop, like within 2, maybe 3% the whole run, and the actual max RPM is on this car about 150 RPM higher than the actual commanded. Closed loop's pretty solid. Usually first gear is the trickier of the shifts. This one, yeah, so still got a few RPM on the table, and closed loop's still pretty solid, pretty good there. And stayed in it in fourth just for a second. So probably just play with the lockup on the converter a little bit. We'll unstrap this one, or unhook it rather, and then we'll move on to the next car. I'm not sure how well you can really pick up on it with the camera, but everything's just nice and clean and simple, and it doesn't take a lot to do a nice job. It's surprising that so many things kind of don't end up this way. So this thing's pretty cool. I like it. It's probably going to take the longest on this one is figuring out the inputs and outputs. I actually, not in this car, but in a different car, 90% of this setup I had tuned a couple of years ago. This motor, and everything's been a trooper. This thing's gotten the snot beat out of it time and time again, and it just keeps on trucking. It's pretty cool too. You can see we've got 1,000 relays and fuses and switches and whatnot, so I'll have to sort through that. It's actually got a dash and a display. So this thing will definitely be a fun car for him. I don't think he wants to turn it up real high, but either way, we'll treat it the same way we treat all the other ones, go through all the same steps, and see what it'll do. So unfortunately the boost control stuff is not working correctly. Let's see. Oh boy, I don't know where that's going. So I'm gonna chase some wiring around, see if I can't figure out what's going on. Figure out what was going on. Pretty massive leak going on, so take care of that. Ultimately, the boost solenoids were wired to the fuel pump output, so the fuel pump prime was set for like 3 or 4 seconds, so the solenoids were losing power. So I'll have him rewire that, and I just set the fuel pump prime for, you know, 200 seconds or whatever number. And then once the engine is running, that'll be hot all the time. So I guess technically he doesn't need to fix it, but that's not how I would leave it if it was my car. I think I got everything working now. So log it, hit our button, let go. Sounds pretty good. Let it dump it out. Stop log, and let's check this out. Got this all set up on the dyno. I think we're finally ready to roll. Our boost control is pretty flat. Right here, it's pretty typical to get a little bit of an overshoot. If you don't have a small overshoot, then usually you're not aggressive enough with the P. And even though we're an overshoot, we're still less than a PSI. So we're going to start here, roll with this. CO2 is turned off for now, and we're going to try and get the fueling dialed in on the gate. We have a nutsack noose. No doubt I'm going to decapitate my nuts off with this thing. Finally about ready to start this thing. I mean, finally about ready to charge the battery. Damn. Alright, let's try this again. Take some after start enrichment out of it, see if that makes it any better. Still unhappy. Shut up. Cranking fuel. Some IC parked position. Way better. Now we're within like 1%. And let's make sure it'll start nice again. Alright, just gonna let it warm up a little bit. Actually a decent amount closer than I was expecting it to be. I just started all over again from a whole new map on this. I didn't reuse anything else. So yeah, about 7 or 8% correction. So I'm gonna go through, kind of manually smooth all that out, and then run it again, make sure we're closer, probably give it a little bit more load. Once I'm done with this, then we'll start doing some full throttle stuff. Not good. This thing wants a bunch of fuel. Here's kind of what the fuel curve is looking like so far. Obviously the $1 million question here is, why did the throttle stick? It looks like it's hanging out at about 40%, so now I'm going to check and see if it's the throttle body or the pedal itself. It's like almost worst case scenario when that happens. Hey, you can see there's the throttle stop, and I can stick my finger in there. Definitely feels like it's the cable itself or the pedal itself. It's got to be the pedal. TPS is going to 0 now. There had this big ass thing was like wedged in between a couple of things, and hopefully we won't blow ourselves up now. I would have thought that this thing and my nuts would have been far bigger problem than my ass in this seat, but I had to find something to sit on. That shit's uncomfortable. Try this again. Luckily I found something that was for sure the problem. Otherwise I would have been a little hesitant to just go ahead and make another run. Fueling looked a whole lot better on that one. At 450 horsepower, it made 6 pounds on the last run. You can see this green line here. Got these like massive swings in fueling. It's basically within like the RPM range where it's only really going through 1 or 2 cells. Sometimes in those situations, it's kind of keeping in the back of your mind that oxygen sensor may become an issue. So we'll keep an eye on that. Up top, fueling was pretty close within a few percent, but on the actual ramp in, it still needs like 6 or 7, so I'm going to try and shape that up now. This touched 6 psi, but it was primarily 5 psi majority of the way. So this run, like I said, just changing the ramp in on the fueling, and going to put 1 degree of timing in it. Basically picked up like 10 or 15. A little less up here where usually you would kind of gain the most, but that's because I already have built a little bit of a ramp into the timing curve. So the way this looks, we could probably throw another degree in it, but I think I'm going to turn the boost up a little bit, and then once you do that, and then we'll play with timing up there a little bit. This thing's like blazing hot. I'm gonna let it cool off for a few minutes before I make any more runs, but doesn't look like anything fell off, and there's not 40 gallons of fluids on the floor. So far so good. Alright, 6 pounds of dome pressure. Then all the camera batteries are gonna die and the laptop battery's gonna die. Felt like boost cut. Let me plug all my shit in and charge all this garbage, and we'll try it again. This thing's getting some really erratic readings. If you look at this saw blade looking one, that's actually the map sensor. So I'm gonna go check and see if there's anything weird going on with that. Boost didn't really go up a whole lot. Made what, 509? Fueling seems to be okay. I'm gonna probably throw 2 or 3% at it, but I do not like what the map sensor is doing. I'm gonna check timing and make sure timing isn't going all crazy like the map sensor is. Kind of seems okay. You can see, I guess the nipple on the map sensor must have broken. Nipple! And it's been a new one's been epoxied on there, so that's a little bit sketchy. But I'll make a couple changes, try one more. Crazy how erratic the map sensor's reading. Luckily the timing not jumping around as a result of it. At 530 at about 8 psi. I'm gonna check the fuel and keep trucking along, I guess. Another went from 8 to 10 on the dome, and changed the PID settings a little bit. It's weird. It's almost act like some of the sensors are just reading sporadic. But then other ones are fine. Like, it's not that uncommon for a data log to kind of like get some glitches in it, but it's usually pretty consistent like everywhere with everything. But this just seems like there's certain sensors that I'm not totally happy with the way they're reading, so it's not kind of like the ideal situation. So just trying to work through a little bit. Starts good though. Map sensor's reading so damn unstable. It's hard to even tell what the boost really is. I mean, it's like physically impossible for the boost pressure to fluctuate, you know, like 10 or 12 pounds in a fraction of a second. This is, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Got dome pressure a little bit smoother, kind of having to run around and do some stuff that's not maybe very typical because it's just being goofy, and that is what it is. This tuning stuff would be super easy and everyone would do it if you just type the same numbers in on every car. But graph's nice and smooth, power's all right. The map sensor is like reading 11, 12, 14, it's all over the place. So I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit more. He wanted to run 15 pounds of boost, so we're gonna try and get it right in that range. I might make one more run after that with a little bit of timing to just make sure where we need to be there. But considering we're up against some hurdles that aren't 100%, I'll just make this one a little more conservative than normal. And if he sorts those issues out, then we can make some updates or make some adjustments at the racetrack or whatever. Another thing is this car, we got a deadline on it, so it's gonna get picked up tomorrow morning. So whatever it is that we're gonna do has to happen right now. Try this real quick. I have probably like 5 or 6 different custom tables going on this thing, just to kind of combat some of the weird stuff. So that way, once some of these little minor things get corrected, then I can just make my adjustments in the custom tables rather than having to basically start all over again on the primary tables. Holley gives you a lot of flexibility with those custom tables, and there's some other systems like the old Gold Box Motec stuff that kind of had similar stuff. It makes things a whole lot easier. And if you plan a few steps ahead, you can save yourself a ton of time in the future. This thing's like 1.4 billion degrees, so I'm just gonna throw the big fan on, give it 15 minutes to cool down or something. Try 1 degree of timing, the same boost level. I don't remember if I said what the boost level was before, but it's like 12, 14, 16, 12. It's roughly 15 psi, so we're gonna leave it there. Again, I think I said before, I'm just gonna keep this one conservative and have him straighten that stuff out. Who knows, hopefully this timing will do something. It'd be awesome if it hit 700, and then we'll call it good to go. Last shot. If this one doesn't work, it just is what it is. There we go.
Ride with me to the journey of more success.
I'm gonna call that 18 pounds, and we're definitely done. A little while ago I said it seemed like the O2 sensor was a little bit questionable. Well, it's completely died, and it's just stuck at 35 to 1. Which is exactly why I don't leave closed loop fueling at 50 or 100% or whatever. Let's just make sure fuel pressure is still good. Yeah, fuel pressure's fine. Voltage is good. So yeah, it's definitely just a bad sensor. With these Terminators, they definitely tend to go through sensors pretty quick. This one's pretty close to the outlet of the turbo, which kind of doesn't really help a whole lot. Sometimes you don't really have much of a choice. I always encourage everybody just throw a spare O2 sensor in your glove box or whatever, so that way you have it with you. I had intentions of trying to get this one on the dyno today, but I just kind of don't have it in me right now. And since the exhaust exits here out of the front bumper, I'm gonna turn the car around backwards, hang the exhaust outside. So I'll just do that tomorrow morning. I'll probably just go ahead and make a separate video for that car. I thought this one was going to go significantly faster than it did, so I figured I'd throw all 3 into one, but I don't want to make this video 2 hours long. So we're going to call this one quits here. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and yeah, we'll do that Mustang tomorrow. So there's an endless amount of videos coming all the time, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, and we'll see you next time.